Students, looked at the discussion about Say's and Say's law and Keynes, and I enjoyed reading the posts. You had some comments that were interesting there, but let me give you my take on this. Who is right, Say or Keynes? Well, Say lived during the first industrial revolution. It was a time of new invention, machinery for textiles, the steam engine, the beginning of the world we live in. This was it started in 1750, and then it went on to 1830 for the first industrial revolution. So he himself was Jean-Baptiste Say. In France, he was involved in cotton manufacturing as well. You can see that when you have a period in the world when there is a thriving economy, a lot of innovation, entrepreneurship, new ideas, new businesses, you can see that people in that kind of environment believe that by supplying, by producing these new products or these better products, these innovations, they create prosperity, they create jobs. There is no need to intervene. Even today, look at the internet activities of Facebook, Google, and many startups. They're doing fantastic. They are creating their own demand. They develop a product. Instagram, a company that was just sold for $1 billion today, they wanted to come up with a new type of picture processing on the internet. They came up with that. Somebody brought up the Cabbage Patch Dolls or Elmo or other new ideas, even in puppets or dolls or toys or what have you. Look at Chipotle. It's a new concept in burrito that took off here in Denver some years ago, and it just created jobs all over the country. Thousands of stores opened. All it is, it's a food item, but it was prepared different or better. People liked it, and there goes Chipotle. So when there is innovation, when there is entrepreneurs that are willing to take risks, when there is new ideas, it has to do also with the capacity of the people involved, how smart they are, innovative, education, the human capital, the social capital, which means not only having the knowledge and the ability, but having also the connections to be able to get together a number of people, create a company. You can go on and on, but you can see that supply can create its own demand. When Steve Jobs started, developed Apple, then all it was, there was nothing really brand new. There were computers before, but they made it different. The iPod was made a little different. The iPad was a new type of tablet, but there had been some before. But nobody would have requested or demand did not exist for iPads some years ago. They came up with it, and then the supply created its own demand. So from that point of view, when there is enough innovation and enough transformation and new invention and new technologies and smart people that can put together companies, Mr. Say is right. And all you want to do is you don't want to disturb these entrepreneurs. You don't want to make their life too miserable, not too many restrictions, too many laws. You want to let them start their companies. You want companies to be able to develop. But then, of course, these businesses eventually become more stale. They become old businesses. Most people don't have the skills to move into the newest businesses all the time. That's why we have structural unemployment, when the skills are not matched to the jobs available. Not everybody is capable to work in the highest technology. Not everybody is innovative. We have a large number of the population that is not able to get or improve their education fast enough. They depend on those industries that are maybe the older industries. Construction, the automobile industry. It is a technology industry, but it's not very innovative. The cars are not so much different from what they were some years ago, and they're not any much cheaper. And if you compare that to the computer industry, the auto industry is kind of backward, but millions of people work in the auto industry. Are they able to go into very high technology? It would need a lot of training, and they may not ever be able to. They may be too old to learn a new field altogether, so we need to keep them employed. That's where Keynes came in, and John Maynard Keynes, he lived during the Depression. He saw millions of people unemployed. What happened? In that period, there was not maybe enough innovation, and a financial collapse triggered a whole wave of unemployment. It was a transformation that some people say was inevitable because the technology changed during those periods. There were new things, but they were still being developed. Television, for example, was developed in the 30s, but in the late 30s, and there was not anything like that in the 20s. There was a phase in which the industry was maybe stale. People were trained to work with the old technologies. They could not change so fast. Their wages were cut. They were in a depression, but people said their wages were not cut enough. Keynes said, no, you need to increase the aggregate demand. You need to give them work. Make work. He said, he advocated even digging holes and then filling them up. He said, just let's do anything to create work for these people. These people could not innovate on the spot. You need to keep them employed. So I think that Keynes and Say were both right. If you are in an industry or a part of the country where there is a lot of innovation and new ideas, maybe you don't need to create demand. It will create its own demand. Parts of the country or sectors of the industry or sectors of the economy which are older type of businesses, the same businesses that we always deal with, restaurants, clothing, fabrication of simple things, low technology items, and then maybe even cars or heavy machinery that is still an older technology. All that, well, that needs demand to keep the people employed because these people are not able to shift right away to the newest industry. So both people were right, and I think the government needs to apply, in some cases, stimulus to demand, like Keynes said, especially in sectors of the industry, in regions of the country where there is not enough innovation and you need to keep people working and being able to feed themselves and pay their bills. On the other hand, when you do have sectors or regions where there is a tremendous amount of technology, innovation, improvements, entrepreneurships, maybe we need to learn from Say to try to not make their life too difficult. Maybe we don't want to tax these people too much, discourage them from starting new companies, and then we can make everything work. In the discussion about the bailout of the car industry, I think that it was a good idea because you keep millions of people employed that could not have shifted so quickly to other types of industries. So you have to do some of that and you have to do some of the other. It is a compromise, and that's why politics and economics, they always interact. But there is one thing we learn from this. You cannot say that one party is completely wrong and the other is completely right. If you say that, then you really don't understand economics. Economics is about critical thinking and evaluating how changes in the laws, how changes in the financial sectors affect the economy. It's not, economics is not about making quick snap judgments, calling names and accusing people of things and blaming problems on other people and on the banks, which are not great maybe in some of the things they do, but they're an indispensable part of our economy. That's all I wanted to say.